Hello and welcome back to Boxing Social. In association with Betfred, we're in Wembley, Box Park, London. We just concluded the Richard Riakporhe versus Jumah weigh-in, and they faced off. With me is the one and only, to get his reaction, Matthew Macklin. Matthew, how's life treating you?
Very good, can't complain at all. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm not too bad at all. Even better for being here, even better for speaking to you. Matthew, let me get your instant reaction to the face-off there. Couldn't take too much from it, could you?
No, look, some people said they thought it was pretty intense. I don't know, people have just made weight, haven't they? It's the final stare down. People just want to get back and rehydrate and refuel. And there was no massive needle at the press conference yesterday. Definitely a bit of rivalry, and I could see Jumah was keen to put it across that he really fancied this fight and he really believed he was going to win it. Almost putting it to Riakporhe, and so Riakporhe then had to kind of react, all politely and respectfully, but just kind of insinuated, well, look, you've been pro a long time. Why haven't you done anything? Kind of thing. Look, I think you've got to lean to Riakporhe because he's proven, tested. He's got the better resume. He's got some good wins on his record. Tommy McCarthy, Billum Smith, Jack Massey. So and recently he's been busy. He had suffered the setback. The period of inactivity, and that's a massive killer for fighters, especially these days. You see that. But the fact that he was out in October, then again in November, he's building momentum. He's building his confidence. Another thing that he's probably lacked a little bit of at times in the Sam Hyde fight, thought he lacked a bit of self-belief. And then when his hands go, he won via an injury, but since then he's had some really good wins. So I actually think you have to pick Riakporhe because he's proven and tested, and he's got the momentum. But as I said to a couple of guys earlier, Jumah I haven't seen much of, but I've asked a few people about him, London guys who have seen him in the gym and know what he's capable of a lot more than I do, and they're pretty strong on him. They go like, no, they fancy him to spring the upset here. So I'm bearing that in mind, but I still go with Riakporhe.
The interesting thing I know about Dion is the injury that he had that put him out of the ring for a couple of years, that being an eye injury. Matthew, when it comes to injuries, whether small or big, that you've had in your career, did they ever kind of shake your confidence in kind of building that back up to think that it's not going to be an issue in the ring? And do you think that might play a factor for Jumah at the weekend?
I don't think so. He's obviously been sparring, he's been back in the gym, so I don't think he'll let that hold him back psychologically. Look, it holds you back in terms of it creates inactivity, and then you lose momentum, you lose sharpness a little bit, you lose fight fitness a little bit. But in terms of psychological, holding him back psychologically, I don't think so. I think he's probably gone through the sparring now, and he's confident that it's okay. And but of course you don't know, do you, to get in there? But no, I think he's listening to him speak. To me, he's a man that has been craving this opportunity and who fully intends on grabbing it with both hands and not letting it slip him by. So to me, he seems he's saying all the right things, and I don't think he's blagging it. I think it's genuine, he believes it, he's been crying out for this opportunity, and he intends fully on seizing the moment.
The original fight with Fabio Turchi was to be a WA eliminator. I'm not sure what the situation with this fight is, but where does a win put either fighter on the world scene, or can they expect to maybe have another fight before they get there?
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to get a world title shot next, but I think that they're closing in on one. Certainly Riakporhe's, had, like I said, Tommy McCarthy, Billum Smith, Massey, he's had some really good wins. Riakporhe, he's definitely closing in on the world title shot. But of course, it's boxing, and even though Jumah, you wouldn't have put him up there recently, on his wins. But if he beats Riakporhe, he kind of nicks his spot, doesn't he? And throws, catapults himself into that conversation. So, like I said it before, I think it's a huge opportunity for him. I think it's one he's been crying out for, and hearing him speak during the week, and I don't think it's like just talk. I think he genuinely believes and he fully intends on seizing this opportunity.
Let's take a look at the undercard. A lot of different variety of fights, a lot of young talents on the fights, a lot of trade fights too. Boxers looking to long-term build some talents through. What on the undercard takes your eye, Matthew?
Look, Chris Congo coming back off a defeat. He was, his first defeat against Michael McKinson. I think Congo really believed he was going to win that fight. McKinson's awkward, and he got a bad start. And McKinson then he had to chase the fight. You don't want to be doing that against someone like McKinson. So looking forward to see how he comes back from that. Obviously he's with a new trainer as well, so we can see if there's any improvements with that. Caroline Dubois, her second fight, I thought she was good on her debut. A little bit over-eager at times maybe, if we're going to nitpick. And I don't want to nitpick or criticise because she looked good and she was brilliant. But if you're going to say anything where you're going to improve on, she'll probably settle down now. That's what I expect in this. That was a debut. It's out of the way. Probably expect a more composed performance. A good English title fight as well with Harry Scarf and Lewis Green. So there's a bit of everything on the card, and boxing fans get in early and watch it all.
A couple of things I want to get your thoughts on. One of your old opponents going to be out soon, that being Golovkin. Love talking about Golovkin myself. He's in against Murata. He's aging, getting older, but a lot of people still see Golovkin as one of the top fighters, and potentially, or at least what's on the table, is that he'll be fighting Canelo down the line at super middleweight undisputed title. First of all, about Murata, how do you see that fight going with Golovkin and Murata?
The biggest question and doubt now about Golovkin is his age, and as far the time when's it going to really? I think he's been declining for quite a while. Rather than suddenly getting old overnight, I think it's been a steady decline from even before the first Canelo fight. Murata, good fighter. Golovkin's, for me, he's probably an all-time great. He'll go down as one of the all-time great middleweights. That's where I rate Golovkin. I don't put Murata in that in that box, but he's a good fighter, and if Golovkin's has deteriorated even more, so you never know, do you? But I think you still pick. You got to pick Golovkin. I don't think he'll beat Canelo if they fight again. I think Canelo hasn't really deteriorated. If anything, he's in his pump right now, and I think Golovkin's declines quite, I won't say dramatically, but noticeably. He's going downhill. He's getting, same age as me. he must be 40 or nearly 40 now, Golovkin. So and he had hundreds of amateur fights at top level. And it's the training for all those fights, and just biologically, once you get north of 30, things get harder. Once you go north of 35, harder again. So I don't think there's loads left in Golovkin personally.
Moving on to one of his former opponents, that being Brook. Speaking to or listening to Ben Shalom recently, he's been saying that it looks likely that maybe Kell will be taking a fight, and Chris Eubank Jr. being on the table there. Your thoughts on Kell potentially continue his career and maybe facing Chris Eubank Jr.?
I think Kell should sail off into the sunset. He's had an unbelievable career, world champion, some big nights, made plenty of money, and you know what? I don't think anything he does in boxing after from now on will top how he felt after beating Khan on that a few weeks ago. So it's nice to go out on a high. So if I was Kell, I think he should just go out and retire and sail off into the sunset and enjoy his money. But if he was to box again, if I was him, I wouldn't fight. Why would you go to middleweight to fight Eubank? I would stay at welterweight and fight Josh Taylor. Josh Taylor's on about moving up in weight. Undisputed super lightweight champion, moving up in weight. That's the fight you want to fight, and he'll have if they do it at 149, which was the same weight as the Khan fight, and obviously it's not a title fight, so it doesn't have to be 147. So if he can drag Josh Taylor up to 149 pounds, he'll have a significant size advantage. Obviously Taylor's the guy who's physically in his prime and Cal isn't, but that's the fight for me. That if I was Cal, that's what he should be looking to do. And maybe he doesn't. Can't you get the profile of Eubank? Obviously makes it a bigger fight to the casual, I guess. But in boxing, Josh Taylor against Kell Brook's a bigger fight because he's an undisputed world champion. And if you've got to be realistic, whoever Kell fights now, he could lose. His father time. Because Khan hadn't boxed in 3 years. Khan was old too. So if you're boxing a young, fresh guy, there's a chance he could get beaten. So if I was Kell Brook, I'd rather go out losing to an undisputed champion moving up in weight. Yeah, that's how I see it.
And then the other side of that one, potentially Amir Khan could be fighting on a tune-up fight has been talked about, and then maybe exercising the rematch with Kell Brook. Your thoughts on that too?
I don't know. I thought Khan afterwards was speaking honestly. He said he fell out of love with boxing. It wasn't there anymore, and it wasn't there anymore. You could see in the performance. I know he'd been out 3 years, and maybe he should have had a fight beforehand. But they both had amazing careers. It's got to end at some point. Do you know what I mean? They're not the fighters they were. They both earned loads of money. What are you doing it for? I don't get it. I just think they've both got their health. Both had some hard fights. You know, pass it on. Let the younger guys carry the baton.
Final two things for me, Matthew. Moving on to the heavyweight division, it looks like we're getting the developments. Obviously, there are much bigger things at play, but it seems like Usyk will be looking to take that rematch with Anthony Joshua in June. Your thoughts on that?
You know, I think the immediate rematch is a bad fight for Anthony Joshua. You know, and I thought that the day after, the night of the last fight when they were on about the rematch clause, I thought, no, I don't think so. I think that's a bad fight. You know, I don't think it'd ever be a good fight for him, by the way. But an immediate rematch, even more so. I don't know. You know, I know he's going with a new trainer, but it is someone he's familiar with. So if he was going with a new trainer and it was like someone he hadn't been with, then you're working on new things. You're getting to know each other. It'd be worse, but at least he knows Fernandez is familiar with him and that. But even so, I don't know. The immediate rematch with Usyk, I don't think that's a good fight for Joshua. And
Tyson Fury, Dillian Whyte. A lot's been made about Dillian Whyte's silence. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Where do you lie on that kind of thinking?
I don't think it's significant within the fight. I just think it's disappointing. I think Dillian's obviously annoyed with the decision of the WBC and he's not getting what he felt was the fair share of the purse bid. But it is what it is, isn't it? So I don't know. I like Dillian, you know, and I like Tyson, but some people would say he's acting like a spoiled child who hasn't got his own way, and I get that. But like I say, listen, whatever. About the fight itself, I think you can't. I think it's hard to pick against Fury, but Dillian's dangerous, no doubt, definitely. Tyson's, you know, got to turn up. He can't underperform. But if he performs to what he's, we know he can, then Tyson, you've got to pick Tyson as the favourite, definitely.
Matthew, let's leave it there. Thank you so much for speaking to Boxing Social. Looking forward to tomorrow night's action. I'll see you there tomorrow.